And good evening, and once again, welcome to the Shadow Gallery. And since it is now midnight, well, 12:44 p.m. Pacific time, Tuesday, still technically for me it's Monday, and that means it's all good, because for you, that means it's time for new comics, bitches! So, yes, I was just going to start very briefly. Touching on a couple of things that Agent 42Q said in his most recent vlog, in which we talked about, well, he talked about my production values, and yes, they do suck. I've tried to add some color here. I have my my original. Well, you can't really see it very well, but yeah, I have my original 27 by 40 lobby poster for the greatest film ever made, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that I got for my 15th birthday. Pretty sweet birthday present, getting it framed and everything like that. And then behind me, you see I have a print of one of the covers of the first issue of Battle of the Planets by Alex Ross. I just can't really see that very well either, but because I know a lot of people who I watch, you know, you have like your own corners of, you know, your rooms and everything like that have all your comic books around you and everything like that, and that's really cool. And I wish that I could do that. But this is the, you know, the webcam on this is built directly into the monitor on my computer, so I can't really move that around. And B, the other one is upstairs, and every time I do this, I can only really do this when my wife is sleeping. You know, so all that stuff is upstairs in the cool room, that I call it, and that has like all this other stuff on it. But this is a pretty cool room too, but unfortunately you're only getting this view. You're not getting all this other stuff around. So anyway, and yes, I hate my yellow, earth-friendly, you know, twisty, twirly light that I have in here, because it does make everything look really yellow. But anyway, let's get to comics. Let's not, because I have something else to talk about first. And that if you stick around through the end, and I promise this is going to be as short as I can make it, because it's a relatively light week, relatively speaking. And I just might blow past some of the stuff that I didn't really think much of. But I am announcing a contest. Now, basically, the objective on my end is to give away to you a perfect brand new copy of the first trade of J.H. Williams and W. Hayden Blackman's Batwoman, Hydrology, from the New 52. This is hardcover, so, and I will send it to anywhere in the world if you can submit the winning entry into to me. Now, basically, what this will be is on one of my recent posts, I was talking about my original content that I had on Tumblr. So the best way to win this contest is to, you don't even have to watch that particular vlog, just go to the link in which it contains, because that link contains a link. That link goes to my Tumblr account, and my Tumblr account has, as I said on that, it's a lot of some you know, comic book reviews, some TV show reviews, you know, by season, and some movie reviews that I do when I'm bored, when I have access to Amazon.com at work. But what I also do have there is some original work that I've done, particularly in the realm of comic characters. And I wrote a script for a comic book that I call Batman the Unknown. So my contest is this. Go to that page, read it, and as a video response either to this video or to that video, review it. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I really, really would. Because it took me a long time to finish it, and I like it. I think it's pretty good. And I'm just really interested to hear what you think. So this is for posterity, so please be honest. Don't just try and win. But whoever's video that I think is done the best and has kind of the most to say about it, I'm not asking for epic, I'm just asking for a review. Do your reviews however you would normally do your reviews. So to all you guys out there and all you girls out there who are subscribing and who are watching, you have a chance to win a perfectly mint copy of the first trade of Batman. I might even throw something extra in there, just to be nice. Anyway, so now on to my comic reviews. So, first off, it seems like I start off with this one a lot, but it's Amazing Spider-Man number 685. So we have the Lizard. Why? Because movie opening, well, technically today now, so Tuesday, the 3rd of July, Amazing Spider-Man opens in theaters, at least in the United States. I know it opened elsewhere. But, yes, this is, as Ghost Critic said in his review of this week's comics, I am one of those cynics. Yes, it's very obvious to me that, okay, somebody, the editor, one of the editors, or probably Joey Q himself, said we need to do a Lizard story because people are going to be going to see this film. They're going to want to know more about Spider-Man versus the Lizard. So here. And so we have Dan Slott doing his darndest. I feel like kind of with a gun to his head, with Giuseppe Camicoli and Klaus Janson doing inks and Frank D'Armata doing colors, that they do a Lizard story that does tie into their universe. So basically what we've got here is it's a kind of a disjointed storyline. We have the present in which Spidey and the Lizard are fighting, and in the sewers, of course. And then we skip to the past, not in the not too distant past, and we see Peter is the Horizon boat is coming in. It's a big kind of celebration for the victory over Doc Ock, and everything looks good, but of course Peter feels like shit because Silver Sable died, and his whole thing about no one dies. Well, Peter finally gets called out on that. Now, in the No One Dies arc, that worked. Everything beyond that, not everything, but most things beyond the No One Dies arc, and especially in Ends of the Earth, that wasn't working. It kept being repeated so often that you felt, okay, well, yeah, somebody is going to die. And it's going to kind of be Spidey's fault. So we have, MJ finally calls him out on that, saying that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And it's an impossible claim to make while you're out there, so why'd you even do it in the first place? But then he gets a call from Carly, saying that he needs to take a look at something, a crime scene, and it's Billy Connors' body has been dug up. And the description of the person that took the body is that of Michael Morbius, the living vampire, who of course is working in private at Horizon Labs. And of course, when confronted about it, he says the reason that he dug up Billy Connors' body was because, and I didn't know that Billy had actually been eaten by his father, but or I had forgotten. But we have that, you know, he's basically, he did that because Billy was, you know, the serum that, you know, Curt Connors used to turn himself into the lizard, he used on Billy. So he's looking to get kind of raw DNA to counteract, you know, the whole lizard serum, so they can turn Curt Connors back into who he is. And he has these big, like, they call them harpoons. They're like harpoons, but they're like hypodermic needles. So basically, you know, Morbius and Spidey and Lizard throw down in the sewers, but then they're backed up by the people at Horizon. So they do get Curt Connors back. But, surprise, Kurt's not really driving the car anymore, even in human form. So, again, a very mediocre issue. No, not, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it's, comparatively speaking, to Dan Slott's work prior to Ends of the Earth, it's pretty mediocre. It's still a decent comic. My biggest qualm with this, other than the fact that it's obviously being used as kind of a cash grab, and to get people, but you know, if it gets people reading comics, then that's still a good thing. So, my biggest complaint about it is that the story doesn't quite flow very well, and the art in it by Kevin Coley and is very overshadowed by Klaus Janson doing the inks, because you can't have Klaus Janson doing inks for anybody but maybe Frank Miller. Because Klaus Janson is an artist. He's both a penciler and an inker. So when he's just doing inking, every body, every figure looks like a Klaus Janson drawing. So it's, you know, so it saps Kevin Coley's, you know, his own kind of art style out of it. And the color work, there's one panel that really bugged the shit out of me, because it looked like Peter all of a sudden had blonde hair. I couldn't recognize him. I'm like, the fuck is this? And this was something that somebody else had pointed out, and I think it was Ghost Critic, that I couldn't tell that this was Peter Parker that I was looking at. I can't remember whose video I was watching. But, so this is a 3.5 out of 5. I mean, like I said, it's not very good, but it's still pretty good. It's getting to a point where it is like, yeah, I'm not really that excited to pick up ASM anymore, so whatever, you know. I'll still read it until, you know, it starts getting really bad. And then, of course, you know, we have the whole thing that's been announced, you know, that this kid's sidekick, Alpha, is going to be coming on board. That essentially is kind of, you know, it's going to be kind of a sort of, you know, Spider-Man type of accident where, you know, whatever. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'll be interested to see where that goes. I'm not for it in any way, because, I mean, Spider-Man's whole creation was that the fact that he was a teenager, and in the times when all teenagers were sidekicks, and here was a teenager getting his own book. Now, obviously, I know that he's grown up, but do I think he needs his own sidekick? No, I don't. So, moving along. It's about a, you know, 3.5 out of 5 for Amazing Spider-Man 685. Moving along to more Spidey stuff, we have Spider-Man #2. And this really should have been the #1 issue. This should have been the first issue of this, because we have finally the actual conversation between Peter and Miles. And so basically, you know, we have, you know, Bendis, you know, doing this whole kind of meet cute, fight cute scenario between the two Spideys. And, you know, we see that, you know, yes, that's, you know, that Miles Morales has a much different power set than Peter Parker does. Sorry, it's still like 97 degrees here. And so it's like 90, no, it's like 95 or 93 or something like that, so lots of water. So, and then, you know, this all ends with him being taken to Nick Fury, the ultimate Nick Fury, of course. And he has this great monologue as far as Peter is concerned, while he's kind of in prison, if you will, or in a holding cell. And you know, he explains where this epic monologue and how he basically got there and what it, you know, and what this all means, and you know, it's really long and really convoluted, and of course it's exactly the truth. So, and Nick Fury, you know, basically says, you know, why would somebody make up a story like that? So it must be the truth. Now, of course, we have Mysterio coming in after his kind of failure back on 616 Earth, but he somehow, you know, built a portal between both universes, and so we have that. And he, you know, one of the things that I thought was really interesting, and this, you know, Corey Pettit, the letterer. Letterers don't get a lot of credit, I think, in this work. I think my favorite letterer of all time is Todd Klein, and then kind of a close second being someone like Chris Iliopoulos. But what he's done here is that just by a simple font change, he alters the universes that they're in, so you know where they are. You know, so I mean, the 616 universe has a certain typeface, and then the rest of it in the Ultimate universe has a different font. And I thought that was just really interesting. It was an interesting touch, and I thought that was neat. As usual, Sarah Pacelli's art on this is fan-fucking-tastic. She's just a really great talent, and I'm really excited to see more of her work. And this was a good issue. I mean, all in all, it was a fun issue. It was a fun read. Even the meet cute, fight cute, which is such a cliche at this point in time, it was still well done. Because Bendis is a pretty smart guy when he really wants to kind of step up his game. So this was a 4 out of 5. Very solidly done. So, Spider-Man #2, 4 out of 5. Moving on with Marvel, we have Wolverine and the X-Men #12. And this is, and I think I talked about this the last issue, is that because of the whole AVX tie-in stuff, there's a lot going on here that's just meh. I don't care so much, and you know, I'm even reading what's going on in AVX, or Avengers versus X-Men, not AVX, because I couldn't take more of this crap. But essentially, you know, we've got Jason Aaron writing this whole scenario that basically harkens back to when Rachel Gray, in the kind of Days of Future Past future that she comes from, was a hunter. She hunted other mutants. Now, this is back long ago when Phoenix was first introduced. Well, the Rachel Gray Phoenix was first introduced in the X-Men back in the 80s. And she's hunting for hope. And so, you know, then we have, you know, she kind of, you know, roots out Wolverine, and of course all of the other X-Men, or all of the other Avengers are there, and there's just kind of, you know, another kind of epic smackdown. And there is a great page by Carlos, or Oh, don't you hate it when you forget one of your favorite artists' names? This is gonna fucking torture me. You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, it's okay. I forgot what year it was today. There's a great, you know, gatefold page or splash page where it has all the Avengers charging at the X-Men, and you know, basically big fight. so on and so forth. More kind of flashbacking with Rachel, conversations that she's having with Cyclops, so on and so forth. You know, kind of using her hunter skills again, kind of being forced to do that. There are some fun moments, but they're very few and far between. And ultimately, this ends up in kind of a very needless, you know, a very futile ending. It's like, why did we just go through all of this just to have this happen? You know, it seems to happen like every fucking issue of all these AVX tie-ins, where it's like, oh, well, we've got hope. No, we don't really have hope. And that's kind of how I feel about this whole series and a lot of the tie-ins, is that they have no hope. There's no hope of making this, you know, you can, you know, you can call, you can call, you can call shit a blanket, but it still is gonna stink. You know, I heard that the first time the other day, and I'm like, I don't know if that's an actual saying, but it's kind of stupid, but it also kind of makes sense. But anyway, just nothing. There's obviously there's a case of editorial input. Basically, I think, you know, some people are just, you know, they're having guns held to their head, and they're saying, look, you need to write this in order for it to tie into this. So if it doesn't tie in, then why are we doing this type of thing? I mean, I really, you know, and this is, you know, of course, the overload of the event comics. And, you know, Marvel just doesn't seem to really have a really good handle on what's going on. And of course, you know, today kind of the news was announced that, you know, Jean Grey is probably coming back to the Marvel Universe again. So that's no big surprise. That's kind of what I thought was going to happen with this whole Phoenix Force thing coming back. You know, that would be a very kind of logical conclusion. But again, you know, this was pretty, just a very unexciting and very uninteresting issue. Aside from the art by, you know, I'm seeing the fucking cover in my head, but I can't see the name. But like I said, you know who I'm talking about. So it's 2.5 out of 5 for X-Men, or Wolverine and the X-Men number 12. Ultimates number 12. So we have basically, this is the epic conclusion, and I do mean epic, to this whole story arc of the, you know, of this first 12 issues, you know, of the city of, you know, the city and the children of, you know, the city of tomorrow, you know, versus the Ultimates. Basically, Tony's there. He's been, you know, kind of offered up to Reed Richards as kind of a sacrifice. But what Reed doesn't know is that the tumor that is in Tony's head that he talks to sometimes, up until now, we've just been operating under the assumption from what Hickman has written and the way that he's written it, is that he is just like kind of a figment of Tony's, you know, kind of tumorized brain. That's not the case. Little Anthony is a sentient tumor. He has full self-awareness and sentience, and he can control machinery. And he basically speaks to the city and basically says, look, this is everything that Reed Richards is doing wrong to you guys, and calls for, you know, and has the city call for a quorum as to what to do with Reed Richards, after basically Reed Richards says, well, I've been giving you everything, and everything that I've been doing is, you know, is great for you. And, you know, it all kind of starts with the creation of the child that he sent to the Capitol building, to Washington, to destroy all of almost all of Washington D.C. and kill, you know, pretty much every member of the cabinet, including the president, so on and so forth, on down. And So this was all basically a big trick, big con by Tony and Thor. And now we still don't know what's happened to Hawkeye and Nick and Black Widow, or Falcon, but we do have the resolution of this, and who else comes in. So we just have so many epic, awesome ideas in this, and they're really well executed, like giving the Hulk the Giant Man serum, so we have a giant Hulk battling this giant machine, this giant Iron Man-like machine that Anthony, the sentient tumor, creates. And then we have, as a surprise guest, we have Sue Storm. Because, you know, hey, it's Reed Richards, so something's got to be done about that guy, and who better to lay the smack on that bastard than the woman that loved him once, and who was almost killed by him. But we have at the very end the kind of lead into the next big arc that will actually cross over into all of the Ultimate titles, that basically saying, you know, this is what's going on, that we have, you know, all this trouble in the south, in, you know, the south and southwest areas, you know, with the, you know, the mutant sentinels, and, you know, the you know, kind of you know, anti-mutants, you know, all these civilians just being killed indiscriminately by the Nimrods and so on and so forth. And this, you know, we hear about this all the way up in Alaska because we're following this character, we don't know who it is. And then, of course, as we see in the very end, we're going to be getting the return of Captain America. Right on, dudes. So this book has, I think, like 3 different artists on it. The art is done very, very well. It's just, you know, it's a really excellent read. It's just, you know, from A to Z, this is terrific read. Sam Humphries and Jonathan Hickman really kind of outdoing themselves with the finale of this arc. It was finally like one of the issues where I could say, yes, right on, motherfuckers. So 4.5 out of 5 for Ultimate Comics Ultimates number 12. So moving on to the kind of indies, we start with American Vampire number 28. We have Pearl Preston. She is trying to find out more about the people that attacked, as we thought killed in the previous issue, but has now attacked Henry and kind of left him for dead. She is teamed up with Calvin to find out, you know, exactly who might be behind this. But of course, Calvin himself being an agent of the VMS. And, you know, there's some really cool moments, like, of course, the doctor and the nurses posing as, you know, or they're actually vampires, and they're there to kill Henry. But of course, you know, Pearl and Calvin put a stop to that pretty quick. And because they're American vampires. And basically we get this new character, this Agent Bixby of the VMS, and he explains that basically the what's going on, because this is 1954, so this is at kind of the height of McCarthyism and HUAC, the House of Un-American Activities, and, you know, the hunt for communists in not only in Congress but also in Hollywood. Because the whole you know, this story arc is called The Blacklist, and basically, you know, you have high people. I mean, in reality, you had high-ranking members of Hollywood that were turning in you know, directors, screenwriters, actors, so on and so forth to HUAC because, you know, at one point or another they may have been members of the Communist Party. And, you know, or just some kind of, you know, social extremist party, if you will. And but the take on this here is that what Bixby reveals is that there is, instead of Hollywood elites hiding communists or people that they think are going to be blacklisted kind of under their beds, quote unquote, they're actually hiding, there are some that are hiding vampires. And actually it has to do with all the way back to the very first arc of American Vampires, the vampires that were in that, because they had some say in what was going on in Hollywood. And, well, to put the finest point on it, is that the vassals of the Morning Star, they have a new agent. And I don't want to ruin the surprise. But it was an awesome surprise. And Snyder and Albuquerque, just, when they get together on this book, they really crush it. I think because the two of them working together, it is another, like Snyder and Capullo on Batman, or Lemire and Travel Foreman on, the early issues of Animal Man, or, Nick Spencer and Joe Eisma on Morning Glories. I mean, it's one of those perfect marriages of writer and artist, and they help each other become better. Because the previous two issues, I wasn't too huge of a fan of American Vampire, because it was a different artist. And I think that artist kind of hurt what Snyder, the story that he was really trying to tell. But we've got Snyder and Albuquerque together once again, and they just crushed the shit out of this issue. It's a great issue. 4.5 out of 5 for AmVam number 28. Really, really looking forward to the way this is going to go. And moving along, so, well, that's what I'm going to discuss for now. Now on to DC. Justice League Dark, number 10. So we have the JLD. They are at the House of Mystery, which is controlled by, or is primarily inhabited by, John Constantine. He has his own kind of demon servant, and they're discussing how, what they need to do with the books of magic. And it does have, obviously, Constantine sees the perks of having the access to the books of magic. But of course we have Madame Xanadu, who sees, into the future again, sees this very apocalyptic, or whatever you want to call it, or just apocalyptic, this, a horrible, terrible future. Because whenever I say apocalyptic, it seems like I'm referencing the planet and I'm referencing Darkseid. No, this is, a future where everybody's dead. Now, basically, who do we see primarily that are dead in Xanadu's vision? We see all, like, the magic people, the magic makers. We see Zatanna. We see Deadman. Although Deadman, since he already is dead, I don't know why, but we see him. But, we have Swamp Thing. We have, I didn't see Animal Man there, but, we have Etrigan. And then here is Constantine kind of floating all above this, because he is the reason for everything that's happened, because he got his hands on the books of magic. And he's whispering a secret to Xanadu in her vision of the only person that can really be trusted with the books of magic. And of course, we don't know who that is. But really what this issue is also about is, it shows just really how big of a bastard John Constantine really can be. Because as Andrew Bennett basically says, what, my debt's paid, I'm gone. Basically Constantine says, what, once you accept an invitation into House of Mystery, the proprietor can call you back at any time, essentially against your will. And of course, this is after everybody's already accepted to come in, so, and Zatanna also has been kind of fucked over here because she was told that her father's hat was going to be there, and it's not. Then pop in the Demons 3, and they're there to essentially grab the map, because they go into a long history of everything that's gone on, and how the books of magic were created out of this chaos, and some of them were held by Merlin, some of them were held by Mordru, and there's always this kind of conflict to grab the book, especially on Mordru's side, to grab the books from Merlin, and ultimately they had to be scattered, but now they're all being put together. And what Constantine has is a map to get the books of magic that he got from Felix Faust. But as it turns out, as we go back into Argus headquarters with Steve Trevor, we see, well, that Constantine's not the only one who is good at playing the long con. Felix Faust is pretty good at it too. And so, I mean, this was just, this being written by Jeff Lemire right now is really kind of the only interest that I had in picking it up originally. But now that now that Lemire has taken it over, it's reading a lot smoother than it was. The flow is very good. It keeps us going with some really good cliffhangers. It keeps us going with some really, really interesting plotting, some really decent pacing. And this is just it's become a much better book than what it was before. I know that there are people who really liked Shade, the Changing Man, and everything like that. I fucking hated him. To me he's like the Sentry. It's like, I have all this power, but I'm insane. So to me it was like a totally useless character, which is why I hated the Sentry. But I'm really liking this new Justice League Dark, 4.5 out of 5 for Justice League Dark number 10. Now on to, admittedly, my most disappointing read of the week, which is The Flash number 10. This was disappointing in a couple of different ways. Is because this is kind of a reboot of some origins here, and we have kind of a reboot of the Weather Wizard. Or at least a reboot to the best of my knowledge. That, the Bardens, they're actually kind of a crime family, and, we had these two brothers, one of them was killed, and, the other one became the Weather Wizard, and they are actually the ones that have kidnapped Patty. Who went to Guatemala to find, to investigate a case there, a cold case, but really had a lot to do with Barry and everything like that, because she still believes he's dead. And so here comes Flash. She gives kind of a roundup of everything that's happened in the last couple of issues, a really massive expository page, and then we get to where he's running through Guatemala trying to save Patty. This whole thing, he wants to share his secret with Patty. He wants someone to know who he is, and he wants Patty to know that Barry Allen is still alive. But this was just a big snooze fest of a book. And the worst thing about it, and this is not necessarily to say that it's bad, but the artist that the artist itself is bad. But we had Marcus Toe on this as opposed to Francis Manapul. Now, Francis Manapul has been doing a really, 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 really good job of balancing his co-writing with Brian Bucoletto and doing the art. Because his art is fantastic. It has this very Eisner-like quality, and it's just beautiful to look at. And Marcus Toe is like, it's good, but it's not Francis Manapul, and that's the biggest, that's the saddest thing about it, really. Other than the fact that the book itself just, it didn't have any real good momentum going. It never got me interested. So I mean, that's always sad. I hate it when it seems like that the book doesn't really seem interested in trying. I mean, because like, for instance, with the Ultimates, with Jonathan Hickman, at least I could never fault, even if I didn't really like the issue, I could never fault it for not trying to tell an interesting story. So, but this, like I said, was pretty blah. It's, at best a 2.5 out of 5, more leaning towards 2. So just didn't care for it. And we have Aquaman, number 10. Again, this is the only book by Geoff Johns I'm reading. It's really good. I know a lot of people out there seem to kind of disagree with me. I actually think that Aquaman is the only good book that Geoff Johns is doing right now. And I think what he's doing with it is really interesting, especially this whole thing about the others. We have, like, the operative in this, is basically, trying to find out the secrets about Manta and, how he found the others and what exactly he wants from them. He's interrupted, and of course it's revealed that this, badass, super suited guy is this, he's an old dude. And he has kind of like this flying living room. It's, this big, like, I don't know, like C-130 or something like that, but it has this this massive library and living room all around him. And he's there, he's talking to his grandson, about what's going on. But then we go back to the real action, which is, of course, the throwdown between Aquaman and Black Manta. And it's spreading all over the place. But what also is going on is that while this is happening, we have, some members of the others, the prisoner and Ymira, whatever her name is, and I think that's, I don't think that's right. I should have written it down. But we have Mira talking with Dr. Shin, and Shin is explaining also about why this ongoing blood feud has been going on between Aquaman and Black Manta, because Arthur's father, Arthur always believed that Manta killed his father, and so he went to get his revenge on Black Manta, but instead of killing Black Manta, he killed Black Manta's father. So then we have, like I said, this just epic throwdown, but Manta, again, being, a very cunning warrior and being kind of a master of redirection, he actually gets what he came for, and it certainly has nothing to do with Arthur. Or at least not immediately. And so where it ends up is, I really, really want to know, again, what's coming next, because this is the type of writing that Geoff Johns knows really well and does really well. I shouldn't say just know. I mean, everybody knows, pretty much everybody knows how to write a good cliffhanger, but I mean, this is when, he's definitely at, kind of the top of his game. I've never really considered Geoff Johns to be a great writer, but he is really good when he wants to be. And he really wants to be on Aquaman, because I think he wants to show that Aquaman can be a really vital and really cool hero. And that's what we're seeing here in this book. And this issue, it's a lot about intrigue. I mean, but there is, this massive action. And we have this great art by Ivan Reis. This, at moments, it's very, and I've said this before, and I will say it again, very Neil Adams-esque, and I love that look. It works very well. And so, I mean, the art is beautiful, the writing's terrific. It's just a really well done book. This issue, again, a little brief. I felt that there were certain beats that were kind of skipped in favor of either showing this or showing that. So the pacing was a little off in this issue, but still overall a 4 out of 5 for Aquaman number 10. So, now on to our books of the week. And believe me when I say that these are books of the week. Not too dissimilar from last week when we had a bunch of really great books. First, we'll lead off with Manhattan Projects number 4. It really is only at an independent publisher can you do a work like this. Because basically what we have here is, as the book opens, we have and Nick Pitara. I love his art on this book. But we have the beginning of the book. We have our General Graves. He's going out to with Oppenheimer and some other military folk. They are at Roswell, New Mexico, and aliens, these kind of killer aliens. Well, the humans don't know the killer aliens, but essentially they're there to talk with them, and just the kind of the untranslated dialogue that, or not translated to English dialogue, that the one kind of main alien has, or General Groves. I said General Graves, then I sounded like General Groves. They, just the killer alien, while he's talking to Groves, he's basically telling them that, we actually, all this knowledge that we just got, that we're going to impart to you, we actually just got from this other alien race that we, completely obliterated and ate their children and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's like, who are these people teaming up with? And not even they know. But basically, what they are there for is to help kickstart the space race. And then we go back to the lab, in which Feynman is he's working on the FDRAI, but Einstein, he wants Feynman's help, and here we finally kind of get the secret of Einstein's monolith. And believe me when I say that while it seems to kind of tread on somewhat familiar ground for this book, you really don't see this coming. And even after it's come, you don't really care that it might have some kind of, that this might have already been done before in this book, in a much different way, but kind of a similar result. And it's just magical. I mean, the work that, this is obviously something that Hickman and Pitara put a huge amount of thought in, probably a great amount of research in, but also just to really have fun with these obviously very significant historical characters. And the whole book is predicated on the idea of, what if we had this top secret program of scientists that were working to to make the world a better and safer place, but that everything went wrong. And so, that's the concept that they're working with. And in a way, yeah, everything is going wrong, but it gives us this interesting, kind of prologue to, to everything that may even be going on now. So, just having the FDRAI, having these aliens, help them with the space race, and ultimately what might come out of the secret of, Einstein's monolith, is extremely fascinating. It's extremely well written, great character moments. Of course, Nick Pitara really doing great on art. A 5 out of 5 for Manhattan Projects #4. And then we move on to our first runner-up, or just runner-up, if you want to call it that, which is, wait for it, Fatale #6. Which you probably already know by what I've read this week, or what I usually read that came out this week, that you'll know what the pick of the week will be. But this was a pretty damn good horse race. So Fatale #6, basically we have the beginning of this new arc, and which we start again with Nicholas Lash. He is, in the present, and we have him, he is becoming increasingly obsessed with Josephine. And he even says that he's going to write a book about Hank, so so that he can get access to money, so that he can research more about Josephine. But he's also becoming very paranoid. That he thinks that he's the huge bowler-hatted, bespectacled madmen are still on his tail. But when he looks, again, it's just always right out of the corner of his eye. And he actually has a private detective come around to basically say, look, we've got Hank Raines. He's he has this safe deposit box. And I've been hired to the private detective's been hired to bring Nicholas to it so that he can get basically his finder's fee. And when they get there, it's empty. The safety deposit box is empty, and one of the bank tellers, bank clerks, whatever, basically comes in, and as they're saying, "Why the hell is this empty?" The clerk comes in and says, "Well, the woman that you came in with last week, as she's talking to the private detective, she left with something." And even the private detective's like, "Wait, what woman?" And it's like, "Well, you sure remember her. I don't know why you wouldn't." And so, of course, this leads to an even bigger mystery: is that Josephine, what did she want with the contents of this box, and what's going to happen next? Now, once we get this explosive moment of violence and fear, we are transported back, we are pulled back as readers, we are pulled back to 1978 Los Angeles. And we are following now a new kind of past character, the name of Miles. He's an actor who is in maybe a couple of movies, and he's just not really he's not a name anymore, and he wants to become a name again. And so he's, the movie that he was in is actually going to be on The Late Show. And so he wants to go to this big party. He's got to score some blow first, from this almost kind of cult-like, kind of brotherhood, who are kind of, they're going to be, some members are going to be there at this big party for some of these Hollywood bigwigs. And he's hoping that they can, kind of turn on the channel and they can see, okay, well, this is the movie that I was in. This is what I used to be. Can you help me out? And of course, everything goes pear-shaped because this cultish group is not just cultish, it is cult. And so what we have here is, this young woman, Susie, who is about to be murdered by one of the cult members, and they're watching this, presumably probably the 16mm film on an old projector, and it's whatever's on it. This is not good, as we can tell only from the characters' reactions to what is actually being seen from this projector. But one of one of these cult members is dead. Miles and Susie have got to get the fuck out of there. And what we find in the midst of all of this is that Josephine, basically after kind of using her last person in the late 50s, early 60s, last man, has kind of retreated and become a recluse, in which she is her only company is her kind of maid, and she's become kind of the reclusive Hollywood cliche, even though she's not an actress, but she lives in LA, so she's become kind of the rich, just never going outside. She goes outside occasionally to swim, only when there's nobody around. because she's trying to stay completely away from men. But lo and behold, who comes over her wall trying to escape imminent death but Miles and Susie. And they have this film with them. Oh, God! I mean, it's like, oh, God. First of all, of course, I have to scream to the heavens on how incredible Sean Phillips' art is here. I'm so in love with the work that these two guys do together. I mean, this is really, it's the best ongoing partnership of comics in a really long time. And I mean, just from the days of Sleeper and Gotham Noir up through Criminal and Incognito, and now on to Fatale. So I mean, this is magical stuff, people. And I know that some of you out there are thinking, well, kind of so what? You know, it's kind of boring, blah blah blah. You need to read between the lines, people, because this is too good of a book to let you let you pass it by. You have to pick it up. It's not a question of why should I read it. It's a question of why aren't you reading it. So again, an absolute 5 out of 5 for Fatale number 6. And just the way that Brubaker constructs his stories, you know, I mean, and, you know, yes, admittedly, you know, one of the complaints that I hear about Fatale is that, well, where's the monster stuff? And to me, that's like, you gotta let the shit build, people. I mean, they're obviously not just, it's not just going to be noir plus monsters all the time. I mean, this is about the ultimate femme fatale. Any man that comes into any kind of contact with her, not even, you know, by touch, I mean, just by looking at her, they are haunted by her. They are obsessed with her. And this, you know, and they will do anything for her. Even if it's a lie. Even if they know that her love is a lie. So, I mean, this is the type of shit that has been, you know, this, you know, it's been the, you know, the absolute archetype and the trope of pulp fiction since the beginnings of pulp fiction. And now we have, you know, particularly detective crime fiction, I should say. But, you know, this is almost like Brubaker and Phillips's essay on what the ultimate femme fatale is. But it's also one fucking brilliant comic book. So yes, I'm sure, like I said, you probably know what I'm getting to next. And next is I, Vampire number 10 as Book of the Week. Because if you read it, how could it not be? Because basically, I mean, now first of all, like I was saying before about marriages of writer and artist, as far as in the New 52, we've got Snyder and Capullo. And we've got, you know, even Jeff Johns and Ivan Reis are pretty good together. But, you know, at least on the same level, if perhaps not better than Snyder and Capullo, as far as a marriage is concerned, we have Joshua Hale Fialkoff and Andrea Sorrentino. And the work that they do together is just awesome. It's just, I mean, it's magical to look at. I mean, the art itself is just ridiculously gorgeous. I mean, I would almost say it's on par with what any other artist is doing in any other book. But, you know, from a story standpoint, basically what we have here is we have Mary is looking to battle Andrew for the right to lead the vampires once again. And this gives Andrew a bit of a chance to play around with some of his new powers. And I must say that they are pretty goddamn impressive. Because it's, all the things that he can do with these new powers that he got from Kane are just, they're just amazing. But what we also have while that's going on is that we have the Van Helsings and their attack fleet moving on Utah, flying over Utah. And we have Professor Troughton and Tig in a conversation with the leader of the Van Helsings. Now, they seem to hint at some actual sort of an ancient Egyptian kind of lineage, heritage, or just a set of beliefs, because that is where the first vampire apparently came from, is from Egypt. And they're having this great conversation, this really, really telling conversation about moral absolutism. And, basically why Troughton stays with, and is on the side of Andrew Bennett, is because what he's basically trying to do is he is trying to protect everybody, and as many people as he possibly can, by, uniting with the vampires once again, and to try and broker some kind of peace between the vampires and between those who would hunt them. And the Van Helsings, they're not having any. They have come to utterly annihilate all of these vampires. And, and there's a very disturbing moment in which this leader of the Van Helsings actually says, after we have cleansed the earth of the vampires, our next move, because it's what every rational thinking person on this planet must be thinking right now, is to cleanse the earth of supers. Because of their, no one apparently can be trusted with these powers. So, whether or not that's going to happen, that's even something of a question mark for Van Helsings, is whether or not they can even think to do something like that, because they'll be stomped by the supers pretty hard. But they are vampire fighters, after all, and vampires are, beyond human. But when the attack does begin, holy amazeballs! And then the very end of the book, holy amazeballs! I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, it's just like, it is attacking you. It's just, once you think you've been punched in the face by everything that's going on in this book, it reaches back and it pops you again right at the end. And you're just like, oh, brain gone, dead, dying, falling out your ears. So awesome. I mean, it's just, this book, I would have thought would have been easily one of the least of the New 52, because it had, the art on the covers for the first several issues, had this, this skinny jeaned, gray streak through the hair vampire. It looked like, oh god, they're gonna fucking redo I, Vampire and Andrew Bennett as fucking Twilight, so it'll appeal to some youth fan base. Bullshit. I'm gonna fucking hate this. And I read it, and if you remember to when I was doing those back at my old Shadow Gallery page, that was Book of the Week of that week of the New 52, the very first issue. And it has been Book of the Week, or one of the picks of the week, pretty much every issue that's come out. Now, admittedly, this week with Manhattan Projects and Fatale, some pretty fucking steep competition, like I was just saying. I was just say steep competition, but oh man, oh lordy, it's good stuff, and it's going, man, it's going. So, that's it. Yes, we're at a minute 4. We're at minute 4. Jesus Christ, if only. No, we're at an hour 4. So, like I said, just really tried to rifle through that, but still making my points, trying to be more concise. Admittedly, there's a lot less to read this week, And I'm trying to consciously cut back on what I am reading because some of it's just not necessary. And some of it, yes, it does make for these, hour 30 plus videos. And I don't want to go back to segmenting my stuff. And I don't want to change the format to where I'm doing like one issue at a time, one issue per video. Because you know what that allows? That allows for you to pick and choose which videos you're going to watch, which videos you don't want to watch. And that way you don't get the whole experience of me. And isn't that what you come here for? I mean, you're coming here for, I like to think that you're coming here not just for, the awesomeness of me. And how awesome is this shirt, by the way? It's the only comic book related shirt that I can wear to work. It cost me $40, but it was worth every fucking penny. I think that you like to come for the analysis, that I actually do kind of these longer reviews of books. And this is not, by any stretch of the imagination, to badmouth the other people that are out there that are making their kind of segmented videos, or are just, kind of, they're reading 4 or 5 books, and, and they're just doing, maybe, less than a half an hour of video. And that's great. I love watching that. It's great for before work. I can, or after work, whatever. Well, after work I can do pretty much whatever I want, but before work, when I'm up in the morning, I throw on one of these videos, I watch it, like to comment on it, and I say, great thoughts here, interesting what you said, and then I can go to work, and I can feel glad because, I've had the chance to watch your videos. I don't do like the box pull videos because, I mean, I don't really go kind of like hunting for comics. I just try and keep going with what's going on. Obviously, if I ever get something really cool, I'll tell you. But that's not really a priority of mine because, you know what, I just, it's not, because collecting comics is ultimately, it's like collecting any kind of art. It's either going to appreciate or it's going to depreciate. And I'm sure a lot of the shit that I have won't even make up, a 25-cent bin. But like a lot of stuff from the 90s that I was collecting, and but there's definitely some that are going to go up. So anyway, so that's why I do this format. That's why I do these long form videos, and why I don't want to have to go back to doing the 15-minute segments where I can really but I just need to reel it in, and I think you agree with that. So that's my explanation. So don't forget, this is for you. If you can go, and I will put the link on this video down there for my Tumblr page as well. And like I said, I might send you another present. It'll be something cool, or at least something that I think is very cool. And like I said, I will send it anywhere on Earth. So, Ghost Critic, Comic Noob, all you guys that are, across the pond, I'll send it to you guys. If you're a first-time viewer and you're watching this in St. Petersburg, or the Ukraine, or the Congo, I don't care. Let me know. Watch, go to the link, review Batman the Unknown, respond in a video with a review of Batman the Unknown. As far as from a script standpoint, obviously it has no pictures because I can't draw. I'd love to be able to draw, but I can't. And the person who I think does the best job of reviewing it, like I said, good or bad review, doesn't matter. I will not look on either one favorably. In fact, I will probably look on a bad review more favorably, as long as it has something constructive to say. Because that's what it's really about here. I'm looking for your feedback on what it took me a lot of years to write. It is long, but it's me. Because I did plan this as either a very long graphic novel, or probably bigger than this, or like a 3 or 4 issue, like deluxe edition miniseries, like the way that they used to make them, like Dark Knight or like Dark Knight Returns. So, and yeah, it's kind of a bummer that I won't be going this week to see Amazing Spider-Man, because I put that review video up here. This is honestly the first time in a long time that I can remember not being really 100% excited for a big comic book release, a major comic book release. But I'm going to I'm going to see, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises on July 19th. Obviously, I won't be putting that review up that night, or I might just put up a brief one that will basically probably be me with of how awesome that whole day was. And I am probably also going to do, like I did with the previous Batman films, the pre-Nolan Batman films, I'll probably be doing segmented episodes that will probably be on the other Shadow Gallery page, 15 minutes, a review of the first two of the Nolan Batman films. So, and then we'll get to, once I see it and once I'm in the mood to review it, then I will give you my thoughts on Dark Knight Rises. Of course, that won't be until at least July 20th. So we both have to wait, or we all have to wait. I know it fucking sucks. Every time I see a commercial, I'm just like, oh god, when? It's still fucking more than 2 weeks away. Shit. But anyway. So that's it. That's really it. I'm done now. So obviously, like, thumb it up, thumb it down, share it, carrot, comment below. It's the only way I know that you came and watched this video. But obviously, thank you for coming by. If it's your first time here, subscribe. And I'll probably also be posting my Twitter links and my Facebook link down there as well. So come on down. It's fun for everybody who is of the age to swear. And, check out my other stuff. I didn't get a whole lot of responses on my other vlog that discussed Saga number 4 and the discussion about art versus pornography, or art and pornography, if you will. So, check out some other stuff. See if it turns you on. See if it turns you off. Just let me know. Comment. Just leave something. Said you stopped by. Hey, it was nice to see you. So, again, as always, you are now leaving the Shadow Gallery. I will always be your host, James Donnelly. And always, remember, stay in the shadows.